Well, good afternoon, everybody. If you're joining us live, I'm just gonna give a little intro here and give a few minutes for people to jump on. But if you're joining us live, welcome. If you are watching later on, welcome. I'm super excited for today's episode, and you already know why, but maybe you don't. So I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, Relationship Matters is a live cast that we do every Thursday, and great news today. I'm putting it right in the chat right now. We have now got the live cast uploaded into podcast format. I had many people asking me, hey, how do we listen on the go? We can't always just sit and watch YouTube for an hour. And so people were asking me to get it loaded up into a podcast format. We've done that. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon podcasts, and so you can find it there. I put a link to the Spotify in the comments, and so you can just click on there if you want to watch, listen to past episodes, or listen to this one in a couple of days. It'll be up there probably by Monday. And so we just want to thank you all, especially you faithful ones that seem to be watching every week. It's been awesome to have you tuning in. We've had some amazing times and just talking to people. The reason I'm doing this is because everything flows out of relationship, and a lot of times relationships can be difficult. They can be the most painful part of our life, also the most joyful part. And so I just really believe that we need to have healthy relationships, and there's principles and ways that we can do that. And so that's what this podcast is all about. I have experts on, I have real life people on, and today we have a super special guest, my wife, Sandi. Hi, Sandi. How are you doing?
Hi.
You got to say hi.
Good. I did. I said hi.
I know. It'd be fun because
I'm not good at this. I'm a behind the scenes person, so this is kind of different for me.
I know, and I actually thought, man, I didn't even know if you would do it or not, but I thought, well, I'm going to ask anyway because. So now, folks, you're going to there's going to be some tea tipping today. You're going to hear the real story, the real stuff from Sandi. Behind the scenes, so to speak. But what I wanted to do is just have a conversation with Sandi about some of the crises we've gone through. Now, I know because of COVID, lots of you are going through crisis right now. And maybe you've had other types of crisis in your life. I know that it's all around us. And I just thought it would be great if Sandi and I could have an honest, raw conversation, because we've had multiple crises in our life. And the thing is we haven't done super well through all of them. I kind of want to debunk this idea that I'm a relationship expert, just simply because I have, learned smart things. It's mostly because I blew it all the time, and I learned from my mistakes. Well, I'm still learning from my mistakes.
I wouldn't say blew it all the time. I think it's just a learning curve. It's a learning thing. Relationships don't just gel automatically. If you really are in love with the person, you need to work it out. And that's what we've been doing for 38 years, almost 39.
I know. Crazy when you think about it, eh?
Crazy, eh?
Silly kids that hooked up, and here we are 38 years later. And have an amazing family.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing relationships with our kids and our grandkids, and so that's amazing. So I usually read a bio, but I don't have to read this one because I've been married to Sandi for 38 years. But Sandi is, I want to let you know, Sandi has a few things that maybe not everybody knows. One is she's an incredible administrator and bookkeeper. And so she works with a couple of nonprofit organizations and helps them with their books. For years, we worked together at Impact Society and at the church where I pastored. And so Sandi and I have been a team. We've been a team. We work together. We lived together, we've raised a family together. And one of the things that really helped us is we knew,
Yeah.
I think anyway, honey, we knew what our gift sets were, what our like
Yeah.
what our contribution was to that partnership.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at the beginning, it's hard because you don't know who you are yourself. You're starting to grow, and you're getting, into a marriage, and you're starting to figure out who you are and who the other person is, and how you can work together. And you learn, things about the person, and it's like, man, I don't know if I can handle that. But you start to work through those things, and as you're working through those things, it really is. It becomes a blending of two people, and it really is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and and I find that like a lot of people just give up too soon, or they let
Yes,
offenses come in and dictate that. And I think one of the things that we've done
for
through the
sure.
years is we've stayed. Just staying is
Yes,
a
yeah,
powerful tool in a happy marriage.
it
Just
is.
staying and fighting for
It
that
really
marriage,
is.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, some of the
Sandy,
things that we've gone through is just crazy.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Sandy is also an incredible intercessor and prayer warrior. And so a lot of times people, I might be out speaking somewhere or doing
Hmm.
workshops, doing this kind of thing here. What people may not realize is that many, many times Sandy is actually praying for me at the exact time that I'm doing something. And so I have that
Yeah.
prayer covering all the time, and that is really significant to me. So I just, when it's a partnership and you discover what your part is to play in that partnership, then
Yes.
there's no,
Yeah.
it takes the competitiveness out of it, right? So what I
Oh,
want to talk
totally.
about today is Sandy and I have gone
Hmm.
through some real crisis, and I know there's people that are watching this and may watch it that have gone through crisis in their life. And what we wanted to do today is
Yeah.
kind of, I hope, our goal is that you would walk away encouraged today by our conversation, and encouraged that, say, even when hard times come, you can still
Hmm.
pull together. You
Yeah.
don't have to drift apart, right? That's I think the key
Hmm. Hmm.
takeaway from today. We've been through lots of crises. So we're going to talk about some of those crises. Sandy's going to give you her perspective, and we're going to be completely honest and transparent with you today, because we want you to learn from our
Yeah.
mistakes and learn from the things we nailed.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and so
Maybe it won't take them as long to walk through some of those fires.
yeah, yeah. So Gary Chupik's watching. He just said Sandy is amazing. I agree, Gary. Thanks for that comment. I
Hi,
want to say too,
Gary.
if you have questions or comments, or you want to say hi to Sandy, like
Yes.
Gary just did, hey, drop it in the comment, whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube. It comes into the studio here, so we see the comments. You can ask questions. Maybe we'll touch on something that you're going through with your spouse. Ask the question, because you'll
Hmm.
get both of our perspectives. Because remember, most of you just
Yes.
hear me spouting off all the time. You never get to hear Sandy. And it's easy for me to tell you all the good stories, the positive stories. I'm usually pretty transparent about the bad ones, but from Sandy's perspective, from a wife's perspective, from the behind the scenes partner
Hmm.
perspective, there could be some things that are
Yeah.
learnable here and takeaways, right? So, so,
Yes.
um, so let's just dive in. Okay, let's just dive into
Okay.
this. And if Sandy gets emotional,
Where would you like to
everybody,
start?
yeah, if Sandy
I'm a
gets
crier,
emotional, like,
so just FYI.
that's it. That's what I was going to tell him. Like, you're a
I
crier.
never
It's not
was.
because
I never was a crier for a long time.
I know when I tell our story, sometimes when I'm teaching workshops, I always say my wife was like tough as nails. She never cried. She just held her
Yeah.
emotions tight. And then when
Yeah.
she
Held my
actually came to
ground.
faith, and
Yeah.
had God touch her life, now she can't. She cries at a dime. So so there you go. So look at that.
A
We got a
nickel.
question already. We got a question already before we even jump in.
Okay.
How do you know when
Go.
to take, like? Okay, so can you hear
Hmm.
me? How do you know when to
Yeah,
take
I can hear you. Yeah.
life's challenges very seriously, or whether to
Yeah.
surf through tough times? That's a great question, and we're going to actually talk about that with some specific incidences for us. But yeah, so
Yes.
Gary's just asked, like, how do you know when like we got to buckle down here, this is serious, or you know what, we can kind of surf through this, we don't have to get bogged down. How do you measure
Well,
that,
every
Sandy?
circumstance is so different. For me, it depends on the turmoil it causes in the relationship. If it causes a lot of turmoil, then you need to buckle down and you need to start talking it out and figuring out what exactly is going on. If it's not causing turmoil, it's something that can wait. It can sit on a shelf until another day or another time. But if it's causing turmoil, you better get to the point and you better get to it before it implodes, things happen. And that's not what you want, because you want to deal with these issues as they come. And again, some of them have to be right away and some of them can wait.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think that the other determinator for us is, I think one thing that we've been able to do is when we both can laugh at ourselves, like laugh at a situation,
Yes.
we can surf.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just say this, Gary. I think if you can learn how to like double surf on the surfboard, then jump on the surfboard and ride it out together. But if it's something that I like what you said, Sandy, when it affects us, our relationship affects what we think of the other person. When it is affecting what we believe about the other person, we better buckle down and have a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so we
exactly.
had
something's changed or shifted, and you need to deal with it.
Right. Yes, because the more you let it fester, the deeper the offense goes, the harder it is to overcome.
Yeah.
So it's either, hey, can we ride the surfboard together, or do we need to do some surgery here? Yeah.
Or am I pushing you off?
Oh, yeah. I hope you all caught that. She said, or am I pushing you off? Yeah. There's been those moments where, like, I'm trying to ride a surfboard with you, and you said, like, get off of the surfboard. I'm riding right now. You're bringing me down. If you don't know us well, we love to banter. We're not fighting, but we'll banter back and forth and tease each other.
No.
And that's one of the ways we
People
surf.
have questioned
one of
us.
the ways we laugh.
Exactly. People have questioned us over the years. Why do you guys bicker? And it's like, it's not actually bickering. We're bantering because things make us laugh. And so when we give a slapstick reply, it's because we know the other person's going to laugh at that. So yeah.
Yeah. Like the other day when I was kind of messing up a little bit, I was pushing too far on a like I thought was funny. You didn't.
Oh yeah.
You told me, hey,
I did not.
You said, hey, don't go. I wouldn't stand too close to the balcony rail right now. And I never picked up on it right away. And I said, what do you mean? And you said,
no,
like, don't stand near where I could push you over. We started laughing. It was so funny. Anyway, that was a funny
But it broke
moment.
the ice and we could actually talk about what was happening, right?
Yeah. And what was happening,
for us,
folks,
laughter works.
I was being Mr. Grumpy Bear, and I didn't know why. I was just feeling irritated. It had nothing to do with Sandy. Had nothing to do with Sandy. And there's a point right there. Sometimes your spouse is grumpy and it has nothing to do with you. So why are you jumping into the fray and making it worse?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's a lesson you and I learned, is that, like, it's not always about us. It's not always about like the other person. Like sometimes Sandy, if she's grumpy, it may not have anything to do with me. But I make it worse because I keep bugging her about it.
Leave me alone. Let me just deal.
Sandy's an internal processor and I'm an external one. So you can imagine our house some days.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right. I want to jump into some of these crises. So the first one I can think of, and maybe you can bring up anyone you want to, Sandy. But the one I think of is when we went through the bankruptcy. We owned a couple of businesses together. Sandy and we had a restaurant and we had a telecommunications company. She ran the restaurant. I ran the telecommunications company. We had a couple of bad years in the restaurant, early 80s, when the economy took a dive. And we were struggling, and she was trying to cope with that and made some probably what we would look like on hindsight bad decisions. And then I had my own pressures, but all of a sudden we were literally homeless, carless. Like, we hit bottom fast. We crashed fast.
Rock bottom. Yeah.
We found ourselves. We had. Do we just have the two kids? Yeah, we just had Justin and Jaylene.
We had two kids, and I was pregnant with our third.
Right.
And
So,
I was pregnant with our third. Yeah.
yeah. So Jenna
Jenna.
was
Yeah.
just still not out. So anyway, when we went, we ended up living in, for context for the viewers here, we ended up living in a motel room that was
Yes.
donated to us, and it was
Mm-hmm.
bad times. And I remember we went into welfare office to try and get some
Mm-hmm.
financial help,
Yeah.
and they pulled Sandy
Yeah.
aside and said, if you leave him,
No way.
we'll help you and the kids.
Yeah.
And I remember we left
I
so,
couldn't believe it.
particularly me, I was so dejected
You
and so
mad.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. How,
Upset. Yeah.
okay, so here is the problem, folks. I felt like it was all my fault because, you're the man of the house, you're the business guy, you should have known better, you should have seen better. And then it would vacillate. Then I'd blame Sandy and I would be angry at her, and then back and forth it would go. But somehow through that time, we saw miracle after miracle, and how did we? I don't even know how we
Yeah.
did it, Sandy. Maybe you do, but we pulled together in that time. I felt like we were closer
Mm-hmm.
coming out of that
Yeah.
season.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? What did we
Oh,
do?
we totally were. I think it was that we finally let our guards down. I think we finally just said,
Mm,
okay, this is the situation that we're in. There's nothing that we can do to change it at this time. We need to move forward. We were given 2 rooms, adjoining rooms. Our kids slept in one. We were in the other one. We had a little pot burner to cook on. We had no food. Social services help us. So then we were like, okay, so what do we do here? And so we just started praying. And after, I think it was like the next day, an envelope came underneath the door, and it had $400 in it. And it was just like, whoa, $400. What can we do with this? And we started talking, and I was just like, no, we need to pray first. So we prayed, and I felt God say, you need to give $200 of money to this other couple that was in one of our businesses with us, because they've lost their jobs as well, right? And so we did that, and we were like, so then we took the 200, we got groceries and stuff that we needed, and we were just thanking God. And then the next day, another envelope came underneath the door, and then a box of groceries showed up the next day, and it was just like one thing after another, and it was like we started realizing, because we had decided that it's not about us, it's about our family, because we were saying, my fault, your fault, my fault, your fault. We took that, just pushed it to the side. We stood as a family, we stood with our kids, and we just said, okay, God, what is it you're going to do with us? What can we do next? Where do we go? How do we do this? And things just started happening. Next thing I know, you're getting a job offer. We ended up getting a place to live for 6 months in a house. And then the next thing I know, we were moving to Salmon Arm, and you got an awesome job up there. So, and when we moved there was zero rental availability. So God was doing something, because we left Salmon Arm thinking, oh, we're never going to be able to move here for this job. You're going to have to travel. We got a call on the way home, like the next day.
yeah.
And they said, oh, well, we have a place for you to come.
Yeah.
So we put
I want to just
ourselves aside. Yeah.
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to summarize like you just did. Like what I
Oh,
think
yeah.
the shift
Okay.
was is we stopped trying to find what was wrong and whose
Yes.
fault it was, and we started to look at, okay,
Yes.
here we are now, what do we need to do to pull together and move forward?
Together.
So we kind of
Yeah.
went from that, like you
Totally.
said, we went from that selfish view, we took responsibility, we came clean with each other,
Yeah.
and said what we were feeling,
Yeah.
and then we said, okay,
Yeah.
let's come together, let's pray, let's have faith together.
Yeah.
And I think that was the shift for us, because it really was from there
It
on that
was. Yeah.
we lived our lives on purpose from then on. That was a catalyst for
Oh,
us. Like
yeah.
I would say
For
none
sure.
of what we've done in life, we wouldn't even be doing this live cast right now had it not been for that bankruptcy,
sure.
that losing those businesses, all that,
Yeah.
the horrible crisis that it put us in. But because we put aside our own pride, and we were able to humble ourselves and then get on the same page. I think that's what got us through. Because then we started living on purpose.
I think if most people understand, oh yeah, for sure. But if most people understand that when it's all about me, that's pride, And you need to walk away from that. You need to just say, okay, lay it down. This is not who I'm supposed to be. This is not how I've been made. And so then you just walk from there. And when you start to become a unit as a family and you don't allow the negative things to pull you down, to rip your family apart, then you start moving in the right direction. You start moving to where God wants you to be.
Right. So, number one, humble yourselves. Number two, have faith.
Yes.
Number three, start
Yes.
moving towards purpose. Start moving towards
Yes.
a solution.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what got us through that crisis.
Yes.
So then we moved to Salmon Arm. We start. I won't bore everybody with all the details, but we had an incredible season in Salmon Arm. We had an amazing season there, and our family grew. Jenna came along like right after that whole thing. We grew together. We met incredible people who have become lifelong friends, like family.
Totally amazing people.
Like the Flues and all of those people and all the young people we started to serve. And I would say one of the shifts for our that event took us in, we started to realize if it's not about us, then maybe it's about us serving others. And I think that common purpose, that vision that you and I shared together, that got us going. And the fact is, it took us a bit of time, but we realized what our roles were in it. Because we had young children. You couldn't always be at every event, but you were always there. I remember coming home sometimes and there'd be like 2-3 teenage girls over at the house just yakking to you and playing with the kids. And you'd be mentoring them and whatnot, but nobody saw that part publicly. And so the teamwork is really important. So find something, you don't have to have the same careers or work together, but if you're a married couple and you're struggling in your relationship and you've had a crisis, find that common ground and start to move in purpose. Live on purpose, not by accident. That's what pulls us apart in our marriages, right? All right, so let's fast forward.
Well, and common ground really not only pulls you together, it actually helps you to build on a solid foundation.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Right?
That's good. Yeah, no kidding. So fast forward, we do, we have years and years of great season. Obviously, everybody has ups and downs. Everybody has fights and not fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We weren't perfect by any stretch.
Oh yeah.
But we stayed accountable. We stayed accountable. We always had people to speak into our lives, right? So that's another clue.
Yeah.
Invite someone to speak into your life, whether it's a coach like me. I'm happy to do that if you want to reach out to me, or a friend or somebody, be part of a community and find people to surround yourself with, because that also enriches your relationships.
Can I also say, when you have your parents, for example, your mom and dad, your dad was so fundamental in helping me to realize what a foundation, what a solid foundation actually meant. Like he spoke into my life so much. So like even your parents, like listen to them. If they're saying something, they're saying it for a reason, because A, they love you, and B, they want the best for you. So you have to listen to that. And listening to it will actually help you move forward into a more solid foundation.
Right. And you know what? Sometimes
in your relationships.
And sometimes parents meddle where they shouldn't, or they might be over meddling.
Oh, for sure.
We were fortunate our parents weren't like
your mother.
That. My mother was a bit. Okay.
Did you? Okay, your mother was a little bit.
She might have been a little overbearing sometimes, but she didn't do it like
just
overbearing. She was more.
She was
more little like dropping hints and a little bit more manipulative.
Yes. Yes.
But
the same hint 5 times in one day. Yeah. Okay.
However, you can still you can eat the meat and spit the bones, as they say. Like even if they are speaking in your life, take it and chew on it and say, well, what applies to us?
Yeah.
What could we take from this?
What applies?
That might really help. Yeah. But if you don't have parents that are solid or supporting, well, then find a group of people around you that can do that for you. All right. Fast forward.
Find a tribe.
Find your tribe.
Yep.
Okay. So fast forward. we're now living in Kelowna. I don't know what triggered
Hmm.
it. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden there's tension in our marriage, where there's tension between you and
Yes.
I, and I think if I remember correctly, our kids had an intervention because Jenna was still at home. The
They
other two
did.
were already married and moved out,
Yep.
and they literally
Yes.
decided to have an intervention and said, "We don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. We feel the tension. Jenna feels the tension because she's living at home,
Yes.
and whatever it
Yeah.
is, we grew up in a loving home. Fix it. You don't have to tell us anything. Just fix it." So that
Yeah.
incredible accountability from our own
That's
kids,
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Well, because we set the tone in our family for that, right? We were
Exactly.
intentional,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but anyway, you went and got some counseling. You felt that it was time to get some counseling, so you
Yes.
asked for some help. You went and got some counseling, and then I
Yeah.
remember the day you told me and said, "Hey, my counselors want to talk to you." And I thought, "Oh, well,
Oh
that's great. They probably want to tell me
yeah.
what's wrong with Sandy, and then I'll know what's wrong with her."
Oh.
And I get into this counselor, and I hadn't met them. I didn't know who they were, and I get
Yeah.
into this counseling thing, a husband and wife team, and and pretty soon the conversation turned in my direction, and, and
Hmm.
it wasn't comfortable,
Yeah.
but it opened up some things to us and helped us to realize. It helped me realize how
Yeah. It really did.
I wasn't
Yeah.
supporting you in your healing journey. And maybe because of my personality, or because
Yes.
I'm the upfront leader, maybe I was guilty of not being attentive to your needs or how you handle things. And and so I
Hmm.
think you were feeling a little bit frustrated with me and didn't know how to voice it. So
Hmm.
that that was a crisis. Our marriage was actually in crisis. We could have easily, I think we
Yeah.
both have said since that
Yeah.
either one of us could have left if we
Oh
weren't
yeah. For
disciplined
sure.
and weren't in a
Yeah.
covenant. Like we sometimes, folks, this is another little tip, by the way. When you enter into a marriage or
Mm.
a committed relationship, you're making a covenant. And sometimes you've got to
Covenant.
rely on that
Yeah.
covenant to hold you together, even when you don't feel like being together. And so I would say for Sandy and I, that
Exactly.
covenant held us together in that season. And so
Hmm.
I knew we had made a commitment, so I wasn't going to walk away, but it sure felt like I
Hmm.
wanted to sometimes. And same for
Yeah.
Sandy. She,
Yeah.
and what I would do
Oh,
to
for sure.
cope with
Yeah.
things is I bury myself in work, I bury myself in positivity, I
Work.
bury
Yeah.
myself in faith, all these things, and yet,
And that and that's
for
and that's what was happening.
yeah,
So and that's what was happening. Like you were working and working and you were so busy and I was just like, listen, you need to take some time. Like yeah, two of the kids are gone. We only have one daughter at home. Her and I are hanging out. Your mom was living with us at the same time. And it would be like you'd fly in, eat dinner and fly out to another meeting. And I'm like, okay, like this is not a relationship anymore. Right now, this is I am your maid at home, making sure your laundry is done, making sure the bed is made, making sure your dinner and your lunch has been done. And it was just getting to the point where it was like, no. We need to come back together again. And so when the kids came with that intervention, I was just like, whoa, okay. I thought it was bad, but for them to see how bad it was, that was a
right,
real eye opener. And yeah, I needed to go for counseling because again, I have issues from my past that I've been working through, but hadn't completely worked through them all. And still, there's a
right.
few things that still come up once in a while. And so, yeah, I just was like, no, I'm done. Hello. That's it. No. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because if we're and your sister Susan has commented
Yeah.
here saying our kids are amazing, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
she said your openness and honesty is so beautiful, and but that's the key. I think Susan just tapped into something there.
That's the,
Part of the
yeah, it
problem in
totally
that
is.
part of the problem in that is that you weren't telling me what was
Yeah.
wrong. I was just feeling the frost, and I didn't know what was
Yes.
wrong. I didn't know what
Yeah.
I was doing
Yeah.
wrong. And so it like you hadn't communicated. So part of the awakening there with the kids intervention was that you realized yeah, I need some help because I can't communicate this to my husband. And it
Yes.
did come from your
Yeah.
childhood or from
Yeah.
your upbringing. But the
Oh
fact
yeah.
is I had
For
my own
sure.
issues, and my mom's living with us,
Right.
which added another layer of tension. Um, and although my mom,
Well,
everybody
it
knows, they
added a
know.
layer of interesting.
I mean, we
She's
all, if you
very
know my mom,
interesting. She was a very
if you
interesting
knew
lady.
my
I
mom,
love
she
her.
was a sweet lady, but
Yeah.
she liked to tell you how she does things and how, which
How to do
implies
things.
that you
Yes.
do. Yeah.
How you
So
should
she's
do
trying to
things.
tell
Yeah.
Sandy how to, cook, and my wife's an amazing cook, and she's trying to tell her how to raise Jenna, and it's like, uh, no. So anyway, so all those tensions were happening. So I would say through that tension, through the miscommunication, the lack of communication, the thing that brought us back together was to get back to partnership instead of trying to live isolated and trying to figure out our own stuff. So my understanding is that my summary of that time is that when I heard it, when awareness brings choice. Uh-oh, I think I've lost my wife. Can you say something, Sandy? Oh no, she's totally frozen. I'm going to keep going until she comes back on. uh, so when we, so for Sandy and I, when we went through that, it was the awareness. It was her asking for help first and foremost. Oh, I lost her completely now. Um, Let me just text her so she knows. Let's see if she can get back in. So sorry, folks. Not sure what happened there. Technology, it's always wonderful. So what happened was with Sandy and I is I think that the fact that we asked for help was a real key. So if you're struggling, you got to ask for help again. There, that is. And then the second thing is the transparency. I always say, any hidden thing erodes trust. And so because there wasn't transparency all the way around, I wasn't telling her what I was feeling, and she wasn't telling me what she was feeling. Then the tension grows. It's that, you know, that unspoken tension that can lead to harsh words and misunderstandings. And so we were able to actually work through that by being transparent. So it brought us back onto the same page, if you will, and now and back to the partnership, which was so important in that season of life. And so it really helped us enrich our lives. And I got to tell you, we're not telling you every crisis, but we're telling you some of the major ones here. I got to tell you, every time we went through a crisis or the tension or where our marriage was in under threat, if you will, and we humbled ourselves and we came back together, it deepened our relationship. So here's the thing: sometimes, conflict is an invitation. Oh, she's back.
I'm back.
Hi,
Hi.
honey.
Not sure
You're
what happened.
back.
Hi.
I missed
My
you.
internet went.
Yeah, I
Aw,
figured.
that's so sweet. What do you
Um,
need?
so I was just saying, I was just recapping again and just saying,
Yeah.
like, one thing that kind of saved us every crisis, we came out loving each other even more. Like we came out even
Yeah, for
more
sure.
connected because we were able to humble ourselves. We saw it for what it was, and we decided to pull together. And so that tense where we ended up, uh, you know, you got counseling, and we've discovered all those things. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is every crisis we've gone through has brought us closer because we chose to come together
Yes.
on it and be closer. Yeah. So that's what you
Exactly.
missed while you were off.
And that's
So
one of the
what else
hardest
do you
things
want
to
to,
do,
yeah, go ahead.
is coming to that realization and actually vocalizing that realization to your partner and actually saying, hey, listen, this is where I'm at. This is what I need to deal with right now. How can you help me? And then you come on board, and then we start to work things out. And then our foundation becomes even stronger, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
because
so what's next?
Well, because we build trust, right? And I think that transparency, I was just saying,
Yes, yes.
transparency builds
Trust
trust.
and equity.
Yeah, trust equity. Yeah, and we
Yeah,
also, like
yeah,
I always say, intimacy is into me, you see. So part of the problem is when we don't open
exactly.
up to each other, when we don't share what our feelings are, and in a healthy way,
Yes.
then we assume. And assumption's the enemy of faith. If you want to have faith in somebody, don't assume. Ask them
Yeah,
how you're doing, what's going on. I
yeah.
could have easily at any time during that
Mm-hmm.
season, I could have sat you down, taken you out for supper and said, "Honey, what's going on? Like, I can see you're frustrated." And I could
Mm-hmm.
have like invited that
Yeah.
out, but I didn't. I just buried myself more in work because I didn't want to come home to the tension,
Yes.
you know. And so it just kind of, it's like an
Exactly.
elastic band. It just keeps pulling until it releases.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pulling.
fortunately for us, we've always been able to get back to center, which is humbling ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister said your bond grows when you work through the crisis, but you have to put the work in, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's so true, Susan. Well put.
Yes.
It's like you got to put the work in. It won't
Yeah.
work for you if you don't work on it, right? So that's why we're
Yeah.
still married
Exactly.
after all these
That
years.
that
Yeah,
includes not just your marriage, but that includes your relationship with your children, relationship with your
yeah,
older parents, relationship with your friends and other family members.
yeah.
You have to work at it. If you're not able to work, then you're not going to have that connection. You're not going to have that foundation.
Yeah, don't give up. Keep going for it, right? Don't give
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I know we can get into cycles and torrents. I mean, I coach couples every
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah.
I know that it doesn't always work out like it has for us, but
Yeah.
the principles still work whether you work them or not. If you work the principles, it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't, then you might end up, in a tough spot. And so we want to be an encouragement to you to say
Exactly.
you can go through crisis, you can go through hard times, and still come out the other end even
Yeah.
closer and stronger, which is what's happened for us. All right. So our next major event,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Yes.
I have a great
So the
question that
next
came up
major
too.
event.
So
Oh,
before we
okay.
do that, 'cause that's going to be an emotional one for you. Uh,
Okay.
uh, Absolutely agreed. But when others don't want to mend, what are you to do? Great
Mm-hmm.
question. If they don't want to mend it, if they don't want to work hard, I always tell couples it's
Mm-hmm.
not 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine somebody coming and applying for work with you and saying, "Hey, I guarantee I'll give you 50% effort"? You'd say, "Get out of here."
50%?
No,
No
it's
way.
100, 100. We got to do
You're not paying
100%
that person to
effort.
pay. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you do
What
if
I would
one
say in
doesn't?
that, yeah,
Go ahead.
sometimes there's a season. I'll give you an example of a friend. Um, this friend and I were really, really super close. And one day she just stopped talking to me. She wouldn't take my messages. She wouldn't, I showed up at her home. She wouldn't talk to me. I had no idea what I did. I tried to make amends and nothing happened. So I had to leave it. I had to lay it down. I laid it down.
Yeah,
So then when I laid it down, I just had to say, Lord, I don't know what's going on, but you'll let me know. It was almost a year. And then my doorbell rang, and there she was. And
yeah,
she was apologizing to me because of an offense she had taken because she
right,
misunderstood something. And that we lost
right,
a whole year of friendship. So,
right.
again, there's just sometimes when you have to lay it down. It's not the easiest thing to do, and it's not always the thing you want to do, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah. So what about family though? Because that's a friend. What if a family's not
All right.
reciprocating? Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give my
Well, if it's
perspective and then I'll let Sandy give hers.
okay.
Number one, number
Okay.
one, you
Yeah.
gotta humble yourself because you're offended because they're
Yes.
not reciprocating. I think
Yes.
sometimes we even ask
Exactly.
forgiveness of somebody to get them to ask us.
Yeah.
It's manipulative. So the first thing you gotta do is humble yourself.
Yeah.
The
But
other
that's
thing
not
you
right.
do is
Yeah.
you have to take, I say what you do is forgiveness is your gateway. Okay. So you have to first and foremost
Mm-hmm.
forgive them for not putting the effort in that you are
Yeah.
putting in. And then you take that little
Yeah.
box of forgiveness and put it on the shelf for a minute. You put it there for as
Mm-hmm.
long as it takes that person to come around. Here's what I know and is boundaries protect relationships and they don't hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have to put a boundary up. If that
Mm-hmm.
person's not reciprocating, if they're
Yeah.
not coming around, then you put a
Yeah.
boundary up and when you put the boundary up, you keep your heart open and you forgive, you stay in
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness and you keep your heart open for when they're ready. If they don't
Yeah.
ever come around, you've done all you can do to make
Sad.
peace. Now, I will say there's another
Yeah.
step in there. You could send a letter of explaining your heart,
Mm-hmm.
saying, I really
Mm-hmm.
want connection, I want relationship. Maybe we could invite somebody to help us through this so you could engage some help
Yeah.
and say, we'd like to do this. But if that person outright refuses, then you've done all you can do. It
You've done
hurts,
everything. Mm-hmm.
but you keep your heart open. And when that time comes, because I put the boundary in place and I've got the forgiveness ready to go,
Mm-hmm.
when that person does come
Mm-hmm.
around, I will I
Mm-hmm.
will receive, I'll give them that forgiveness and I will be able to re-engage. And that actually did happen to me in a family
Mm-hmm.
member.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a great relationship today. But
Yes.
it I couldn't
Yeah.
force it. I couldn't make them put effort in or
No.
make them think
No.
differently. That's, so what do you think, Sandy? Because like
Well,
the questions from one of your sisters, so I'm pretty sure we don't want to out her, but we
okay.
want to answer the
So
question.
so for me, if it's a family member, I would, well, they call me Mama G for a reason because I'm a mama bear, and so I would probably break down a door and say, "Hey, what the heck is going here? We need to talk." But you have to go after that. You have to, like Mark said, you have to be humble and you have to lay down any offense that you think you might have because something has happened in that relationship and you don't understand until you actually get that person to verbally tell you what has happened. And if they're not telling you verbally what's happening and they're just showing signs, then you need
Right.
to just step back until they're ready. And a lot of
Yeah.
times people walk away, and it's a sad thing to say, but you need to just pray and ask God, what should I do in this situation? Can I move forward? Should I talk to them again? Should I send them a letter? And that's the way to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
would
think,
be my thing to do.
yeah,
So
that's good, honey. That's good. I think keeping our heart soft is so important, and it's hard to do because
yeah,
it's painful. But I will say this. I will say
oh, it
this
is.
that, and maybe this will help somebody. When there's
Mm-hmm.
been no communication, when the relationship's cut off,
Mm-hmm.
we imagine far more.
Yes.
We write the script,
Oh
right,
wow.
in the
Yeah.
negative tone
Yeah.
far more than maybe what the problem is.
Yes.
We exaggerate it because we haven't had communication.
Yeah.
And so we don't
Yeah.
truly know what happened or what the other person is. They have a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility
Yeah.
also in that. But your responsibility is to at least reach out in some form or another and say, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
hey, I just want you to know I care about connection and relationship more than I
Yeah.
do what we're fighting about. I am here when you're ready.
Exactly.
I'm not forcing you. I'm
Yeah.
here when you're ready. And I would love to be
Yeah.
able to bridge this gap and have a relationship again. If you keep your heart in that place, it'll come around.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
All
lot of
right.
times too, when you hold an offense, you may say things to that person that should
Mm,
never have been said. And in
yeah.
doing so, you've added a layer of bricks now to the offense. So it's not
Right.
just a fence, now you have a wall in front of you. And if
Right.
you can't get over yourself and realize what you've said or what you've done, then there's no way that that relationship can be patched up again. You have to come with a heart that is humble and say, I am so sorry for what I said. I'm so sorry for what I did. And I just want to have a relationship with you. No matter what that relationship looks like, I want a relationship with you.
Right. That's so good, honey. That's so good because it's so true. We can reshape the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We can go slower if we
Oh, yeah.
have to. We can put boundaries in place if we have to.
Yeah.
But let's
Yes.
put the
Yeah.
relationship, the value of the relationship above our own personal winning. I've always said, people,
Yes.
if you don't win, you think you lose, and that's not true. You can have a win-win, or
It's
you
not
can
true.
actually prefer the other person and have a loss for the sake of relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have to, it's always
Yeah.
an issue. At the end of the day, if we look back, most of the issues, even you and I have fought over, we can't even remember what they were, and they weren't all that
Mm-hmm.
important.
No.
Like, Like, it
No.
was just
But we
misunderstandings.
usually end up laughing afterwards. So
Yeah,
yeah,
90% of the time it's misunderstandings. And so I know Max Licato
it
says
really
conflict's
is.
inevitable, combat is optional. So we don't have to fight just because we have a
Yeah,
disagreement or we
that's
have,
good.
right. So I
Yeah.
think that that's key as well. Okay. We got 15 minutes left. I want to move
Mhm.
into this last thing. A few years ago, Sandy and I
Okay.
lost everything to a fire. And that
Yeah.
fire devastated us because we had just, the kids all moved
Yeah.
out. Jenna was still at home, but the other kids had moved out. We wanted to downsize, so we bought this condo. 2 weeks living there, the whole thing burned out, and we lost everything. But it was
God.
more than
Yeah.
the thing, because we've never been materialistic. It was
Yeah.
the it
No.
was the dream that we had our
Yeah.
own place, that we could lock it and
Mm-hmm.
go off and do a mission trip or something. And I think it was kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
recognition of the stage of life. And then the other thing is the insurance
Yeah.
company messed us
Exactly.
over. We lost our life savings, blah, blah, blah. But it was a
Yeah.
major crisis. But you and I handled it
Yes.
differently. And it caused some
Oh,
tension with
totally.
us. It caused
Totally.
some division with us.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the story and then I'll let you tell your perspective. But it was funny because
Okay.
I'm trying to find out what's going on with her, and she's like not wanting to talk. It was like, "What's wrong? Nothing."
No.
That old scenario. And we were so blessed. A bunch of people took up an offering for us, and they gave us some money to go on a
Oh,
trip to
yeah.
decompress. And that was a lifeline for us because we wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
afford to go on that trip. And so lots of people rallied and helped send us off to Mexico for a couple of weeks. And we're sitting on the beach, relaxing, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Sandy says, "I'm just super mad because you," and then she starts spewing all these things about the fire and about how I handled. And it was like
Yeah.
it took us almost a week and a half of relaxing on the beach before you could get the place where you could tell me what was
Yeah.
going on. But tell me
Just
from your
say it. Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
what was it that was annoying you? What is it like that we caused in each other in that through that time? Because that was a
Okay.
major crisis.
Well, it was totally a major crisis, and a lot of things that happened during that time. I found that I wasn't being heard, and it wasn't your fault. It was the scope of what we were going through, and
Right.
and being in shock. I think we were both in shock, and shock affects people differently. So I mean, like I remember the next day, because Saturday night it happened, and the next day was church. I had a pair of flip flops and my pajamas on. That was it. And you had the same. That was where we were left. And so then I was just like, how did this happen? How did this happen to us? Like, what did we do wrong? I started thinking that we did something wrong and that we were not in the right place with God or something. But I really think in the long run, after I was mad and got that all out, because I'm an internalist, I internal everything. And Mark he has to talk it all out. And I'm just like, shut up. I'm tired of hearing you right now. So being on the beach, and a week and a half into it, it was just finally, it was like, boom, this big explosion happened. And I was just like, and I know it took you by surprise. I think it took me by surprise too.
Yeah,
But
I was just having a
finally
pina
being able
colada.
to vocalize, I know, I was finally able to verbally say how I felt and what was happening in my heart and my spirit and my mind, and yeah, like I was devastated and still shocked. I think I still was in shock. Even in Mexico, I was still like walking around like,
Yeah,
where are we going to live? What's going to happen next? What's
yeah,
I mean, we were out for 24 months before they actually finished rebuilding it. And
yeah,
we had friends that were so amazing that allowed us to stay. One friend allowed us to stay in their basement, and then another friend had a condo that we could stay the next year in. And we were really blessed that way. But I was still thinking, I'm not blessed at this time. And it wasn't about the things. It was just like, this is not the season I thought I was walking into. This is not, I thought, I'll be
Right.
doing mission trips, like, which I love, and doing this and doing that. And none of that happened. And I was just like, it was like not just being, that ice challenge where they dump a bucket of ice over you. That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah, yeah.
felt in that moment. And that lasted
Right.
for quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
sometimes
yeah.
folks we like so my summary on that is that like I was a verbal processor. I was trying to see the positive. And what I thought I was
Yeah.
doing was I thought I was helping Sandy by showing her all the things we did have. And what it was doing was rubbing salt in the wound the whole time. And so what I want to just I
Yeah.
think the takeaway for everybody when you're going through a crisis, you have two ears and one
Yes.
mouth for a reason. Listen
Yes.
before you talk.
Listen.
Ask questions,
Yeah.
slow everything down, and
Yeah. Yeah.
allow the trauma of the crisis to kind of flow through. And because what
Yeah.
happened from that moment on, after you had that outburst,
Hmm.
I immediately
Yes.
apologized and said, "I am so sorry. I was not that was not what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't trying to send that
Exactly.
relational
Yeah.
message at all." And so I was much
Yeah.
more conscious, and even to this day, I'm much more careful
Day.
at that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I try to support you and let you process it first, and then we can
Yeah.
talk or whatever. And it was such a learning experience because and so we became closer
Yeah.
because we were
Yes.
actually able to get it out every time. I got to tell you, every time
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
slow down and listen, and you
Yeah.
speed up and share what's in your heart, we seem to go at a better level. We go at a better rhythm.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I verbally process, I got to shut up. Because you internally process, you got to speak up. So I think
Yes.
that's one way
Yeah.
you, if you're in a marriage like that or in a relationship with somebody, understand their heart, understand how they process things,
Yeah.
understand what is
Yeah.
important to them.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it actually this you come out feeling stronger. When we came home from that
For
trip,
sure.
I felt like we
Hmm.
were linked arm in arm. We were going to get through this, whatever came. We were on it. Now that didn't mean that
Yes.
for women, you're a nester, so you just finished
Yes.
unpacking and hanging pictures. It's your
The last
nest.
box was unpacked that day. Yeah.
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 And
It
and
was,
and,
and it
and
was just, yeah.
yeah, and
It
so
was a
living at other people's houses wasn't nesting. That was like that
no.
felt like
No.
so it was security. You were feeling
Yes. Yeah.
insecure because we didn't know
Oh,
where
for
we'd
sure.
live, we didn't know
Yeah.
how long it would take,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing you can do, husbands or wives, I guess if it's
Or wives.
depending on
It
what the
depends if
personality
you're.
is, but
Yeah.
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 But what you can do is what I needed to do for Sandy was just provide some security in the way I could, rather than
Be
trying to
quiet.
provide her. She didn't need hope from me. She
No.
needed security.
No.
She needed me just to
Yeah.
hold her, to let her
Yeah.
vent. And what I tried to provide was hope. And that wasn't the time to do that. And so that's a really good lesson you can take away from our crisis. And what is that like know each other, talk to
Yeah.
each other, open up, slow things
Hmm.
down. Don't
Yeah.
assume
Yeah.
things about each other. Actually inquire and say, how
Yeah.
are you doing today? Because there were some days you're good and there's some days you're not. But if we could slow down enough,
Yeah.
we can actually support each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are
Yeah.
some days where it's just like, you know, I'm processing something and you're like, because you are verbal. You are a verbal person, whereas I'm not. That's why I like being behind the scenes. And I like doing. And so if I'm doing something and you're verbalizing, and I'm like, just give me 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes to just think this through, and then we can talk.
Right.
And I think over the years we've gotten better at that. It doesn't take as long anymore to actually get to that position. So but
Yeah.
again, it's 38, almost 39 years that we've been working this out. So I really
Yeah.
encourage you, if you are having troubles in your marriage, you need to come to a realization that it takes two people, it takes 100% effort. You have to listen to the heart of the other person, and you have to start to understand that that's how they are, and that's how they verbalize things. And you need to start
Mhm.
working together, because if you do that, man, I tell you, the times we've had, I mean, those are three rough patches we've had in our marriage. But
We've had
the
a lot
other
more of it.
times that we've had, oh my
Yeah.
word. Well, yeah, but little things. And, but
Yeah.
I'm saying the times that we have had in our life that have been
Yeah.
good outweigh it by so much,
Yeah.
So,
It's true.
yeah,
Isn't it,
it's worth it.
it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Like we tend, as humans, we
Yeah.
tend to always see what's wrong instead of what's strong. And
Yes.
and
Yep.
I
Yep.
and
Totally.
I think that's a discipline a little bit. It's accountability, it's humility, all the things we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But really, what I want to encourage you to do if is look for what's strong, not what's for wrong. Like
Yes.
believe the best of
Yeah.
each other. See, the one thing I
Yes.
can tell you, no matter how Sandy can get moody, she can get quiet, she can
Yep.
get, chippy, if you will.
Snappy.
But I've come to realize something that
Yeah.
is my foundational belief, and that is this: I believe the best of her. I know she's
Yeah.
not doing it because she's just being a jerk or because
No.
she's just being mean. I know that there's something else going on underneath. And if I can be,
Exactly. Yeah.
instead of a judger, I want to be a helper. So instead of judging her or assuming things about her, what I want to do is be in the position of being able to believe the best of her and help her get
Yeah.
through whatever it is she's
Yeah.
getting through. Is that,
What you need to do is
and I feel
be
like
my
you should
best
do that
friend
too. Yeah,
and
well, we
hear
are.
me as that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're best
Yeah. Oh,
friends.
for
We're not
sure.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
I mean, I've had people come to me and want to be my best friend, and I said, "Well, you'll be second in place, just FYI, because my husband is first. Because I have a relationship with him that, I mean, the one thing that we have is that we make each other laugh, and that laughter has really carried us through a lot of things, good, bad,
True
and
enough.
ugly, and yeah.
Yeah,
But
for
again,
sure.
we're humble towards one another, and like even when you were grumpy last week, and 2 days of grumpiness, and I'm like, oh, something's going on. And I was like, okay, well, and then I snapped that remark back at you when you said something, and then we started laughing, and then you were like, oh, so I am dealing with something. Yes, thank you for helping me come to that realization.
Yeah, I
So
wasn't
yeah,
even aware. I wasn't even aware that
no, you
I
weren't.
was doing that, right? I felt off.
Yeah,
And I think you and I,
exactly.
one good thing is in our marriage is that either one or the other is up or down. It's like very
Yes,
rarely are we both down, but it has happened.
very
But
rarely.
it's like
Yep,
I remember now we use different language. We don't accuse the other
yeah,
like you did this, you did
for
that, or
sure.
you always do this, or you never do that. We just kind of, the
Yeah, we
first
don't
thing I
use
do
that
is say,
language.
no, you never want to use that language. So what
No,
I do is I just say, I'm
no.
feeling off. And
Yes,
I can take
yeah,
responsibility for sending the wrong relational message,
yeah.
because when I'm off, I can easily send that wrong message. I don't
and
mean
and
to.
you might not even know why you're off at that time. You might not
Yeah,
even know what is bothering you, but at least if you can say, hey, I'm not quite right now, something's going on, but as soon as I'm able to understand it, I will share it with you, and we can work through it together.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
One thing I'll say is I saw this quote. It's like our words are our tether to one another. So our hearts are
Mm.
tethered by the words we speak to each other.
Yes.
And we do a lot of, like, words carry life and death, right? And so we want to make
Yeah.
sure that we're speaking life over one another, and I think that we're really good at that. You are,
Yes.
particularly, I remember not long ago we were in this transition. Now we're in another kind of, not crisis, but transition.
We are. It's transition. Yeah. That's life.
And I remember I was feeling a bit unsure and like, did I make the right decision
Yeah.
and whatever. And you just came up to
Yes.
me and you said, honey, you'll do great at whatever you do, or something along those lines. And you always
Yeah.
do. God always takes care of us. You're gonna rock it. Don't worry, just be patient. And it
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
just the words I needed right at that moment. Now, because I was a bit feeling the tension of that or feeling a little off, you
Mm-hmm.
could have easily come up and said, why
Mm-hmm.
are you so moody? Why are you always like grumpy at home and you're always happy with
Yeah.
everyone else?
Yeah.
Like you could have easily done that, and
Oh
maybe would have
yeah.
in the past,
Yeah.
like way back.
Oh,
And
at the
and
beginning of our marriage, you probably would have, for sure. Yeah, definitely. But
well, yeah,
I
we
mean, like I
we didn't
said,
even talk about the beginning of our marriage with my addiction and everything. We'll have to do one on that sometime.
yeah, we will. Yeah.
I'm surprised
So,
I
but even
lived through it.
now, it's just I am too. I am too.
All right.
And that doesn't mean anything other than I might
we got
have
a
kicked
minute
your butt.
left. Yeah.
Okay.
We got a minute left. So here's my last question for you. What does it
Okay,
feel like
go.
to have the perfect husband?
Oh, be still my heart. Oh, the perfect husband. Yes, that's exactly it. My day is perfect. There's sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and oh my word, get over yourself.
I couldn't
I love
resist. I
you
couldn't
for
resist.
you. That's it.
Hey,
That was
listen,
good.
I
That was
tell
good.
people all the time, you've shaped me into the person I am. You've
It's
trained me
taken
well,
me
honey.
38 years. I've done something wrong. It's taken too long.
I remember one time we were joking around. You said, I couldn't leave you anyway because if I had to get another relationship. Look how long it took me to shape you up. You didn't have the energy
Yes.
to
I was
go
like,
through
I'm
that again.
not doing that again. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my goodness.
that was good.
Anyway,
That was really good. What?
any
We
last
should do this
words of
again.
wisdom? Yeah, we should. Any last words of wisdom for our viewers and listeners? Anything you want to say to
Always
them?
be ready to humble you. Yeah. Always be ready to humble yourself first. If you can humble yourself and start to understand that you could be in the wrong, it might not be the other person, it could be you. That right there starts to open a door of communication. And communication is the hardest thing to do with another person. We are so ready to think things of another person or to speak things of another person, but instead, humble yourself, allow that door to open, and have a true and honest conversation with them.
Right. Thank you,
That's it.
honey. That's great advice. You should teach
Awesome.
relationship matters. Why are you in the background? You're amazing.
I don't think so. Thank you, but no. I like being in the background.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well,
Okay.
hey, listen, everybody. Thanks for watching today. You got a little window into our lives together and
Yeah.
real problems that we've had and how we got through them.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate all of you who have watched this and watched this on a consistent basis. I want to encourage you, if there's other episodes you want to watch, we talk about all different kinds of relationships. And next week, I have Gary Chupik in the house. Woohoo!
Oh, Gary's in the house. Woohoo!
And we're going to be talking
amazing
about,
man of God.
He's an amazing guy, and we're going to be talking about how our mindsets and how we think affects our relationships. And so because he's a mindset coach, and so it should be a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
So join us next week, 1 p.m. Thank you, honey, for being on. You're amazing, best wife ever, and I'm just really. I was so excited for today because I couldn't believe I got you out in public. This is amazing.
I know.
So anyway,
too. I'm
thanks
amazed.
everybody. We're going to sign off
do this
for
to honor
now.
you.
What's that?
I just wanted to do this to honor you.
Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you. And I want to say that too. I honor you. People think, like I said, our relationship expertise is not because we got it right all the time. It's because we got it wrong lots of times. But we stuck it out and we humbled ourselves and we kept working together. So I want to bless you too, honey. You do so much behind the scenes nobody sees, and but I see it all. And so thanks so much for being on the show.
All right.
See you all next
everybody.
week. Have a great day. We're going to end the broadcast. Signing off.
Bye.